Underrated.
LeBron is underrated, I think, and I get on LeBron about certain things, but I think he's transcended the game of basketball as far as with his size and what he can do out on the court. Pretty much can do everything. Magic Johnson, Karl Malone rolled into one. But yeah, he's a special player, and you have to give him a lot of credit because doing it for so long at his age and still doing it at a high level. I was watching the game.
John Starks just went on a podcast and said something that a lot of people needed to hear. And I'm telling you right now, it was not what the LeBron James fans wanted to hear at all. This man went in front of a microphone, sat down, and straight up told everybody what the truth is. No sugarcoating, no going back and forth, no trying to please both sides. He just said what he said. And honestly, it was refreshing. Because we live in a time right now where everybody is scared to just say the real thing. Everybody is trying to be careful with their words. Everybody is worried about upsetting one fan base or the other. But not John Starks. John Starks sat down on the Strong Talk Men's Health podcast and gave the world one of the most honest takes we have heard in a very long time when it comes to the LeBron James versus Michael Jordan conversation. Now, before we get deep into everything that John Starks said, I just want to take a moment to remind everybody who John Starks is, because there might be some younger fans out there who don't know this man the way they should. John Starks played for the New York Knicks during the 90s. He was in those battles against Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. He was one of the few guys who actually stood up to Michael Jordan and tried to stop him. He played against him multiple times in the playoffs. He saw Michael Jordan up close and personal. He competed against him on the biggest stages in basketball. So when John Starks talks about Michael Jordan, he is not just some fan sitting on a couch giving an opinion. This is a man who literally played against Michael Jordan. He saw what Jordan was capable of with his own two eyes. He felt it. He experienced it. That is a completely different kind of knowledge than anything you get from watching YouTube highlights or listening to media people talk. And this is so important to understand because one of the biggest problems with this whole debate today is that so many people who are arguing for LeBron James over Michael Jordan have never actually watched Michael Jordan play. They were not alive in the 90s. They did not grow up watching the Bulls dynasty. They came to basketball in a different time, and they only know Jordan from clips and documentaries. And there is nothing wrong with that, but it does mean that your perspective is limited. It means you are missing something. You are missing the feeling of watching Michael Jordan in a live game when the pressure was at its highest and knowing deep in your gut that this man was going to find a way to win. You cannot get that feeling from a YouTube highlight. You just can't. And John Starks had that feeling every single time he stepped on the court against him. So when Starks was asked the question on the podcast, the simple and direct question of who is the GOAT between LeBron James and Michael Jordan, he did not hesitate. He did not pause. That was the laugh of somebody who knows what he knows and cannot unsee what he has seen. But here's the thing that I really appreciated about what John Starks said. He was not unfair to LeBron James. He was not just bashing him or putting him down for no reason. He actually gave LeBron his flowers. He said LeBron James has transcended the game of basketball. He said LeBron can do everything on the court. He compared him to Magic Johnson and Karl Malone combined into one player. Think about that for a second. That is an incredible compliment. Magic Johnson was one of the greatest point guards to ever play. Karl Malone was one of the most powerful forwards in NBA history. And Starks is saying LeBron has qualities from both of those guys in one body. That is not a small thing to say. That is actually a massive compliment. And then Starks talked about LeBron's longevity. He mentioned watching LeBron play recently against Houston and seeing him still flying through the air and dunking the basketball at his age, and Starks was genuinely impressed. He said LeBron is special, and you have to give him credit for doing what he does for as long as he has done it. So Starks is not a LeBron hater. He gave him real, genuine praise. He acknowledged what LeBron has done and how incredible it is. But even with all of that said, when it came to comparing LeBron to Michael Jordan, Starks drew a very clear line. And on one side of that line was Michael Jordan, and on the other side was everybody else. Now let's really get into the heart of what Stark said, because this is where it gets really interesting. Stark said that Michael Jordan was just different. He said Michael was a different kind of animal, and he used this example that really hit home. He said, it's like when you put a group of kids together and you can immediately see that one of them is just built differently from all the rest. That's Michael. You just know it when you see it. You can't explain it fully with stats or wins or trophies. It's something deeper than that. It's a presence. It's an intensity. It's a will to win that goes beyond what normal human beings carry around with them every single day. Michael Jordan had something that you simply cannot measure. Starks talked about Jordan's mentality specifically. He talked about Jordan's will to overcome whatever was in front of him on the court. And this is so real because Michael Jordan faced walls his entire career. He faced the Detroit Pistons for years, those bad boy Pistons who were literally designed to hurt him and knock him down and beat him up. And Jordan kept getting up. Every single time they knocked him down, he got back up. He didn't run from it. He didn't ask for a trade to go somewhere easier. He stayed and he fought and he figured it out. And when he finally broke through against Detroit in 1991, it was because he had built himself and his teammates into something that could not be broken. That is a story of real toughness and real mental strength. Speaking of his teammates, this is one of the most powerful points that John Starks made during the entire podcast. And Scottie Pippen himself has said on camera that because of Michael Jordan, he grew mentally stronger and became the player he became. That is real growth. That is real impact. And Starks extended that same point to other players on those Bulls teams. He talked about Horace Grant. He talked about B.J. Armstrong. He talked about Steve Kerr. These were not superstar players. These were solid role players. But under Michael Jordan's presence and push, they became champions. They became part of one of the greatest dynasties in basketball history. And that is because of what Michael Jordan brought to the table beyond just his own performance. He lifted everybody around him. That is what a true leader does. Now compare that to what John Starks said about LeBron James. And this is where Starks really made his strongest point. Starks said LeBron did not really grow anybody. He said LeBron joined talent. Think about every single time LeBron James won a championship. His first championships came in Miami when he left Cleveland and went to join Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. And Starks pointed out that LeBron recruited Chris Bosh to come to Miami. He did not grow Chris Bosh. He went and found an already elite player and brought him to his team. Then when LeBron came back to Cleveland, Starks made the point that the main reason LeBron came back was because Kyrie Irving was already there. Kyrie Irving was already one of the most talented young players in the NBA at that point. LeBron did not develop Kyrie. Kyrie was already that guy. LeBron just recognized that having Kyrie gave him the best chance to win. And then the move to the Lakers was the same story. Anthony Davis was already a superstar, and according to Starks, it was all arranged beforehand, that if LeBron was going to be in Los Angeles, Davis would be willing to be traded there. So even that championship in 2020 was built by putting elite pieces together, not by growing players from the ground up. This is such a real distinction, and I think this is something that does not get enough attention in this whole debate. LeBron James is a physical marvel. There is no question about that. His body is unlike anything we have ever seen in the NBA. He is incredibly large, and yet he moves with the speed of a much smaller player. He can overpower people because of his size. He can run through defenders because of his strength. And for many years, that combination of size, strength, and speed was something that nobody in the league could handle. But the question I always ask is this: how much of LeBron's success comes from his actual skill level, and how much of it comes from his physical build? Because if LeBron James was built like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, those long, athletic, but not massive builds, what kind of player would he actually be? Would he be making the plays he makes? Would he be dominating the way he dominates? The answer, honestly, might be that he would be a very different player, a much less dominant player, because so much of what LeBron does on the court depends on his size and his ability to just physically overpower people. That is not to say he has no skill. Of course he has skill. But his skill level compared to Michael Jordan, it is just not on the same level. And even compared to Kobe Bryant, it is not on the same level. His skill is not as pure, as refined, as complete as those two guys. A big chunk of his greatness is his body. And that is a real and honest conversation that most people are afraid to have. Now let me also talk about the media for a second, because John Starks touched on something that I think is very important. He talked about how the media has shaped a lot of people's views on this debate, and I think he is absolutely right. The media companies that cover the NBA have big money deals with the league, and those deals are worth more when the current NBA is exciting and popular and seen as the best version of basketball that has ever been played. So what does that mean? It means the media has a financial reason to push the idea that the current players are the greatest. It means they benefit from saying LeBron James is the GOAT. It means they benefit from making Jordan seem like a distant memory from a different era, because that narrative makes the current product more appealing and therefore more valuable. And a lot of fans who don't think too deeply about this stuff just take in whatever the media tells them and they believe it. They watch the highlights that the media picks for them, they hear the arguments that the media makes for them, and they form their opinions based on that. But John Starks was there. He played in both worlds, and he is not beholden to any of those media deals. He can just tell the truth, and the truth is that Michael Jordan was simply on another level. There is also the point that Starks made about The Last Dance documentary. He said when a lot of people watched The Last Dance, they said it made Jordan look bad. They said it showed him being too hard on his teammates, but Starks disagreed completely. Starks said The Last Dance actually showed Jordan's greatness in a deeper way, because it showed what a great player does when his teammates are not at his level. It showed Jordan demanding more from the people around him because he knew that if they did not reach higher, they were not going to win. He was not being mean for the sake of being mean. He was trying to push people past their comfort zones so that the whole team could reach something great. And that is leadership. That is what great leaders do. They challenge the people around them. They do not accept mediocre. They demand better constantly. And sometimes that makes them look tough or harsh, but the results speak for themselves. 6 championships, 6 Finals MVP awards, and a team full of players who became better because of him. I personally have been watching basketball for a long time, and I remember what it was like watching those Knicks teams go up against Jordan and the Bulls in the playoffs. Those were some of the most intense, most emotional basketball games I have ever seen. And every single time, no matter how hard the Knicks fought, no matter how much heart John Starks played with, Michael Jordan found a way. That is something you just cannot argue with. You cannot argue with what you saw with your own eyes. You cannot argue with the feeling of knowing that no matter what, this man was going to find a way to take over a game and win it. That is who Michael Jordan was. And I think that is what this whole conversation comes down to in the end. It's not just about the numbers. It's not just about the rings. It's not just about the highlights. It's about the feeling. It's about the presence. It's about what Jordan meant in the biggest moments. He never lost a final series. He never went to a Game 7 in the finals. He never let it get that far. When he got to the finals, he won. Every single time. 6 times. That is not something that can be duplicated. That is something that belongs to Michael Jordan and Michael Jordan alone. John Starks said it perfectly. Michael was just different. Not better than everybody else by a small margin, not slightly ahead, just different on a whole other level, in a category that no one else has been able to reach. And that includes LeBron James, as great as LeBron has been and continues to be. LeBron is an all-time great, but Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. And that is exactly what John Starks said. And if you're not willing to take that opinion seriously coming from a man who actually played against Jordan and has been in this game his entire life, then honestly, who are you going to listen to? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. This is a conversation that never gets old. Drop your thoughts below, like the video if you enjoyed it, share it with somebody who needs to hear this, and subscribe so you never miss a video. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.